Okay, so now let's take a look at the process by which the electrical signal generated by the SA node travels through the heart. Okay, so starting here. Oh, sorry. Before I move on with that, I just want to point out to you that in these diagrams, the purple is going to indicate depolarization. Okay, so our signal is going to start in the SA node. Okay, from the SA node, remember that we have fibers that go along the walls of the right atrium. So we're going to get spreading of that signal down the right atrium. Okay. It's also going to spread not only among those fibers, but remember that those fibers of pacemaker cells are also electrically coupled to the surrounding contractile cells. So we're going to end up depolarizing all of those as well. Okay, so that's what's happening here. We're depolarizing the right atrium and also the left atrium. Right, okay, that's what's shown here. And then we're going to reach the AV node here, okay? The travel of the electrical signal through the AV node has some important characteristics that I want you to know about, okay? First of all, I want you to know that the AV node is the only connection, the only electrical connection between the top of the heart and the bottom of the heart. So between the atria and the ventricles. So that means any electrical activity that is going to go from the atria to the ventricles is going to have to go through the AV node. So this is the only pathway for that signal to go through down to the ventricles, okay? Second thing I want you to know is that signal conduction through the AV node is slow. So as a result, the signal kind of gets delayed. It gets delayed. So it goes through the atria, gets delayed a little bit before it reaches the ventricles, okay? And we call this the AV node delay, okay? I want you to take a second now and think about why it might be useful to have an AV node delay. Why would you want to delay the signal coming from the atria to the ventricles? So think about that for a few seconds. Okay, so I don't know how many of you came up with this, but basically having an AV node delay is very useful because that allows the atria to contract before the ventricles contract. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to depolarize the atria, they're going to contract, you're going to get this delay, and then you're going to depolarize the ventricles and they will contract. That is useful because that allows you to empty the atria, right? So to pump blood from the atria into the ventricles before you contract your ventricles. That way you have a larger amount of blood available for the ventricles to pump out to either the rest of the body or to the lungs, okay? All right, next up. Once we have our signal going through the AV node, it's going to go down the middle and then up the sides, okay? And the fact that it goes down the middle and then up the sides kind of allows the bottom, the apex, to contract before the outer walls do. So as a result, you're kind of pushing the blood upward, which is nice. It's good because you want to push the blood, because the blood vessels that the blood is going out of are on the top of the heart, right? So you've got this is the pulmonary artery right here, and then you've got the aorta right here. So you want to push that blood upwards to go out of those arteries. Okay, so that basically covers the pathway of signal conduction through the heart. Just a quick reminder, you're starting here, or a quick recap, starting here at the SA node. You're going to depolarize the atria, and then you're going to end up delaying here at the AV node, and then the signal is going to go down the middle and then up the walls, okay? One thing that I want to point out here is that the contraction is going to lag the electrical signal. So remember that we have our pacemaker cells generating and conducting that signal. That signal then is going to spread to the nearby contractile cells. Those contractile cells are going to get that signal and have their own action potentials. And then after that, then those contractile cells will contract. So, so it takes a while from the time that we depolarize a particular region of the heart to the time that it actually contracts. So you can see that in this example here. So we're depolarizing the atria here, but the atria don't really start to contract until the signal has kind of reached the bottom of the atria, the AV node, and kind of is starting to go down the middle of the heart here, right? So you can see that contraction here happening. Okay. One last thing that I want to say about the conduction of the electrical signal through the heart is that the SA node acts as the pacemaker of the heart. It determines the heart rate, okay? I'm not going to go into great detail about this. We'll talk about this more in class, but basically the SA node is going to set the rate at which all of the other cells in the heart have their action potentials. And thereby it's going to control the rate at which the heart contracts, okay? And the reason for that is that it has the fastest rhythm. It has the fastest rate at which it fires its action potentials. Again, we'll go over this some more in class.